Hi everyone, Nancy here. Welcome back to Cape Cod Like a Local. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Blair Krosel, and she is from Citizens Bank here on Cape Cod, and she is a mortgage consultant. Today we want to talk about inheriting property and what that means. There's a couple of different ways that you can inherit property. If you're, let's use this scenario of a family and the parents have a will. What'll happen if there's no other trusts or anything like that involved, the property will go into probate, and that can incur quite a few costs and time to make sure that that's settled and the property goes to whomever they really wanted it to. What we highly recommend, and this is through your financial planner, your trust attorney, your estate attorney, is to put your home in a trust. What that does is if you want it to go to your 3 children, that is where it goes. We also wanted to add today, what happens if the family, 2 of the children have a home already, they're very established, and the other person doesn't. Why I wanted Blair to come in today is to talk further about that so that you know how to put the financing in place to, I'm going to call it, buy out the other 2 siblings.
Thank you, Nancy, for having me today. The scenario that you're presenting is a very common thing that we see on Cape Cod a lot, and it can happen anywhere. So when 3 siblings inherit a property and 2 of them already have a property and 1 doesn't, there is an opportunity for that one person who doesn't have owner property at the time to buy out the other 2. And when you say buy out, a lot of the time the misconception is you have to purchase the property from the other 2 siblings. And that is actually not the case. In this scenario, because the property has been inherited by the 3 siblings, the one who does not own a property is now technically an owner of a property, and now will be considered, this transaction would be considered a refinance.
Wow.
And that can really help the person who doesn't own the property. For example, if they don't have the down payment to come up with being able to purchase a property, this refinance, you do not need
That's
down
a whole
payment.
Different scenario.
It's a whole different scenario. They have now inherited this property. They now own a property. They don't have to be considered a first-time home buyer. There's a lot of things that the person who wants to own the property now can kind of get around. But the biggest thing is that they do have to buy out the other 2 siblings.
Okay.
That is the biggest thing. There's an equity inheritance that comes with this property. If there's a mortgage, that has to be paid off first. And then the other 2, based off the balance that's left, will be split between the 3.
So what is the first step in a property that has been inherited by the trustees? They're now working with the estate attorney at this point?
Yes.
Okay. And then they contact you. What do? What's the process from there?
So once they contact me, and they really need to figure out exactly what they want to do with the property before they contact either of us. So if they want to sell, they're going to contact you. If they want to buy out the siblings or remain to have the ownership in the property, then they would contact me. And from there, I would have to qualify them based on what they're looking to do. So in the scenario that we were speaking of, how the 3 siblings, 2 of them want to be bought out, the one wants to remain as the owner, I would then, so for example, if the home is worth, each person has an equity of $100,000, so there's $300,000. We have to give $100,000 to the other 2 individuals. I have to qualify that one individual for a $200,000 loan. Okay. And then if they do qualify, then we just move forward, and I cannot give a pre-approval. So that's a lot of the times when I get into these scenarios, an attorney wants to see a pre-approval letter that says the person is able to afford this loan.
Okay.
And
that makes sense, just like they were purchasing a whole different home.
Yeah,
okay.
and the siblings want to make sure that he or she can afford the property. And I can't give a pre-approval letter, but I can, reassure the attorney that I have qualified you as a borrower to move forward with this transaction. So once that's all in place, I get all of your documents, we move forward just as a refinance, and I will work with your attorney. There's probably going to be a couple attorneys in this transaction. We'll have a real estate attorney, an estate attorney. If they're one and the same, that's even better. That's a lot more helpful. That way we don't have a lot of people in the pie kind of thing. But once that's all in place, then we just buy out the other two siblings. They make an agreement, a buyout agreement, and we sign, and everybody signs that says we accept our $200,000 and we will leave this property alone. It'll now be part of John Doe's property. It'll only be his, and we will no longer be an owner.
Okay. Is the closing process very similar to that individual buying a home on their own without being part of the estate type thing? The closing costs, they're going to be similar.
They're going to be a lot less.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
They're going to be a lot less because we don't have that down payment that is required.
Sure.
We're going to have a lot of the same fees. You have your attorney fees. There is going to be a tax transfer fee, and a lot of times that only happens when you sell a property. And in this case, it's technically like you are, but please keep in mind you're still. It is considered a refinance. Mm-hmm. Only when it comes to that tax, you do get charged. Then you have your homeowner's insurance. You have your taxes that can be escrowed. So a lot of it is the same, but it can be less.
Okay.
And it can be rolled into the loan.
Oh, excellent.
So that's a huge thing. A lot of the times, the misconception is that you have to bring these costs, all this money up front to closing. And because it's a refinance, you can roll it all into the loan.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes.
That really makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Very good.
The other side, an example that we could give you is if the three siblings, only the two siblings owned the property, and that last individual did not inherit and did not have property rights, and he wanted to buy the property from his two siblings. Now, that would be considered a purchase. But the big thing with this is it would be within the family. And in the state of Massachusetts, they do not have to get a passing Title V. We don't have to get an inspection done for the Title V, which can be very important when it comes to, a closing and being able to have a passing Title V. I know a lot of septics on the Cape, they sometimes can fail. A lot of them have failed. Mm-hmm. And this can help if you're transferring ownership within a family. Now, it has to be immediate, full sibling family, but that is an opportunity.
So am I hearing you say also that if he or she was part of the three owners, the three siblings that own that, it would be the same thing, no matter what, because they're a sibling and they're selling it to the other?
The two differences, the three owners, they all have an inherited right to the property. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then that is considered a refinance. And with a refinance, you don't normally need to see a passing Title V.
Perfect. Yes.
Unless the appraiser comes out and sees that, things are spewing from the ground. That's not really good. But more likely than not, that's not going to happen. The other scenario is if the three siblings, only two out of the three inherited the property and the other one did not, that one could have the opportunity to buy from the other two the property. And because they are buying within the family, mm-hmm. that passing Title V that you normally need with a purchase can be waived.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's great information.
Yes.
Anything else that you feel like you need to add to this entire process?
Everybody's scenario is very different. That's what I would like to really just kind of stress. And everybody really, when it comes to siblings, they all have to be on the same page when it comes to mm-hmm. what they decide to do with the property. Mm-hmm. And when they do decide, there are many different ways that this could work for somebody. Give an example of a husband and wife. If the wife has inherited this property, but she can't afford to buy out the other siblings on her own, mm-hmm. she could get the husband involved if he wants to. And they could together be able to buy out the siblings, and now they jointly own the property.
Okay.
So that's a scenario that, it doesn't just have to be the sibling mm-hmm. who has inherited the property. They can get, other parties involved that could help with the loan and qualifying.
It sounds from everything you're telling me, it sounds so important to make sure that you have those key people in place.
Yes.
And hopefully that you have trusted people that ask your friends, ask your
Yes.
neighbors, who have you used in a situation,
Yes.
and ask your professionals who they recommend, who
Yes.
they've worked with, that they trust. It's so important,
Very important.
in all of our world.
Yeah.
So-
We rely on them.
Yeah, we certainly
Very
do.
much.
We certainly do.
The other thing is your side that a lot of people may not know about is when it goes to selling the property. Do the heirs, do they actually have the right to sell that property? And so that's very important to be able to make sure, your attorney has established that you have the legal right to sell this property, because that can hold up a closing as well.
Right. There's so many moving pieces, and
Yes.
it really is important that you have the key people
Yes.
on your team, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Blair, thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
today. I
Thank you
hope
for
that we've
having me.
helped people to understand it a little bit more and know that you need to make these phone calls and have things set in place. And I look forward to seeing you again.
Yes.
And everyone out there, have a wonderful day.
Thank
Bye.
you.